Imagine someone who once consumed your every thought suddenly realizing you've gone silent. That void, they can't ignore it. Your absence becomes their obsession, their discomfort, and their secret torment. The moment you stop reaching out, the narcissist feels a shockwave of loss of control. What do they really want when you say nothing? It's not reconciliation. It's not closure. It's 7 hidden desires that surface only when you are out of reach. Desires they would never admit, even to themselves. And today you're going to uncover them all. If you're realizing how much their mind is still occupied with you, take a moment to reflect. Are you living for them or for yourself? The power of silence is not emptiness. It's freedom. Pause, breathe, and reclaim the space they crave. The moment you stop responding, stop reaching out, stop giving attention, something extraordinary happens in the mind of a narcissist. Silence, which might feel empty or peaceful to you, is experienced by them as a sudden, cold shock. They are used to being the center of attention, the primary source of validation, and the orchestrator of emotional exchanges. When that feedback loop is severed, even briefly, it triggers an intense internal alarm. This isn't simple frustration, it's a profound sense of invisibility. A narcissist thrives on being seen, admired, and responded to. Without contact, their ego faces a void, a momentary erasure of significance. And that vacuum is uncomfortable, terrifying even, because their self-worth is externally anchored, dependent on constant affirmation from others. What makes this moment particularly potent is that the shock is immediate and undeniable. It's not subtle. It's a sudden disruption to the predictable patterns they rely on to maintain control. In their mind, every text you don't send, every call you ignore, every social media post you skip is evidence of slipping influence. And when influence slips, so does their sense of power. This is why narcissists often react unpredictably to silence. They may attempt indirect contact, watch from afar, or fabricate scenarios in their minds, all to regain that lost sense of significance. Understanding this dynamic is crucial because silence is not passive, it is a powerful psychological tool. By withdrawing, you create a space where their need for control collides with the reality of your independence, forcing them to confront their own fragility. Even when you aren't interacting directly, a narcissist's need for validation doesn't disappear. It intensifies. Silence to them is not freedom. It is a gaping void where attention, admiration, and acknowledgement used to exist. The narcissist is wired to measure self-worth externally, and without confirmation that they still matter, their ego begins to feel threatened. Every subtle signal, your social media activity, mutual friend stories, even rumors about your life, becomes a proxy for your attention. They obsessively scan for any sign that you notice them, consciously or unconsciously. This need for validation is not just superficial, it penetrates deeply into their emotional and cognitive patterns. They may replay old interactions, analyze your past responses, or imagine your current thoughts about them. Even your silence becomes a canvas onto which they project their fears, desires, and fantasies. In essence, they are trying to fill the vacuum you created, not with reality, but with the reassurance they crave. What makes this particularly insidious is that their obsession with validation operates without your participation. You may be completely unaware that every action you take or don't take is being monitored or imagined by them. Your independence becomes a puzzle they are desperate to solve. Understanding this is crucial because it reveals that their power over you is largely illusory. It exists in their mind, fueled by your absence, not your presence. By withholding attention, you deprive them of the emotional fuel that sustains their fragile self-esteem. When there's no contact, the narcissist doesn't simply accept your absence, they invent a world where your presence is still central. In the void you leave, their mind becomes a theater, replaying old interactions, rehearsing future encounters, and creating imagined scenarios that reinforce their sense of control. Every what if and every mental rehearsal is designed to keep you inside their psychological orbit, even when you are physically and emotionally distant. They imagine how you might react, how you could be persuaded, and how they might regain influence. These fantasies are not harmless daydreams. They serve a very specific psychological function: to maintain the illusion of power and relevance. Without contact, the narcissist faces a reality they cannot manipulate directly, so they construct alternate realities where they are still central, admired, and in control. Your independence threatens their ego, and these imagined scenarios act as a defense mechanism, a way to process the discomfort of being ignored while still feeling dominant in a private mental space. This internal drama also reinforces obsession. Even though you are silent, your absence fills their mind with continuous attention. They analyze your possible thoughts, anticipate your moves, and rehearse strategies to regain influence. The more they fantasize, the more they remain emotionally entangled with you, despite the lack of real interaction. Understanding this highlights a critical truth. Their mental fixation exists because of your autonomy. By living your life without feeding their fantasies, you gradually detach yourself from their constructed world while they remain trapped in it. Even without direct contact, a narcissist is constantly probing, analyzing, and testing the limits of your attention and emotional availability. They may not reach out overtly, but every social media post, mutual connection, or public interaction becomes a subtle test, a way to gauge whether you are still emotionally tethered to them. Your silence does not eliminate their curiosity, it sharpens it. They watch for tiny signs, a like on a post, a shared photo, a comment from a friend. Each of these seemingly minor signals is scrutinized as if it holds the key to your inner world. This behavior is not conscious in the traditional sense. It operates below the level of deliberate planning. Their mind is wired to seek patterns and predict reactions, and in your absence, they rely on indirect observations to feel a semblance of control. It's a psychological form of experimentation. How much can they influence without speaking? How much do you still notice? How far can your boundaries stretch before you respond? Every detail, no matter how small, is cataloged and analyzed in service of their fragile ego. The danger and the fascination lies in the fact that your independence becomes an unspoken challenge to them. The more you live freely without responding, the more they attempt to measure your distance, your emotions, and your subtle reactions. Understanding this dynamic empowers you to see that their strategies are not omnipotent. They thrive only when you allow them to occupy mental space. By maintaining boundaries, you remove the experiment from their control, leaving them with nothing but their own obsessions. When a narcissist is cut off from contact, the absence of control doesn't bring relief. It stirs emotions they are rarely willing to admit. Resentment and envy begin to accumulate silently, hidden beneath a veneer of calm detachment. They watch from a distance as your life moves forward, noting milestones, achievements, and happiness that they are excluded from. Each sign of your independence, each glimpse of your joy, becomes a mirror reflecting their limitations, and that reflection fuels a secret storm of bitterness. Envy is particularly insidious because it blends desire and rage. They long for what you have, the freedom, the attention, the satisfaction of a life that isn't dictated by them, while simultaneously resenting you for possessing it. This is a private internal battle that may never surface outwardly. They may mask it with indifference or even feigned contentment, but underneath every memory of your past interactions and every imagined scenario where they still matter strengthens this covert emotional turbulence. Resentment grows not only from your absence, but from the contrast between what they want and what they cannot control. It becomes a quiet obsession, shaping their thoughts, fantasies, and subtle attempts to reassert relevance. The key insight here is that their anger and envy are not about you personally. They are about the fragile construct of self-worth that depends entirely on external validation. Understanding this allows you to recognize that the turmoil you may imagine exists because of their dependence on your attention, not because of your actions. In silence, they are wrestling with themselves, not you. When a narcissist loses contact, they are forced into a space where their usual tools of control, attention, admiration, and influence are unavailable. Alone, they begin a subtle, often obsessive process of reinvention. This isn't a genuine personal transformation, but a strategic rehearsal. How they could return stronger, more charming, or more persuasive the next time they have an opportunity to interact. Isolation becomes a workshop for rehearsing influence, a mental laboratory where they experiment with new versions of themselves designed to regain attention and dominance. This reinvention is fueled by the awareness that their relevance is slipping. They may spend hours imagining conversations, practicing phrases, refining behaviors, and even curating appearances in social media or mutual circles to craft a version of themselves that is harder to resist. It's not about growth in the way most people understand it, it's about survival of the ego. Every imagined scenario, every self-edited persona is aimed at recapturing the admiration and control they temporarily lost. What makes this process particularly powerful and potentially dangerous is that it happens silently without your awareness. You may perceive distance as peace, but in reality, they are preparing for a potential re-entry into your life with a more calculated, compelling approach. Recognizing this pattern empowers you. Their reinvention thrives only on the anticipation of impact, the hope that your attention will return. By maintaining your independence, you neutralize their rehearsals. In essence, their isolation is a mirror of their fragility, not your absence of influence. Even without direct contact, a narcissist seeks to maintain influence over your emotional state. Silence doesn't erase their desire to control. It merely shifts the battlefield. They turn to indirect strategies, using social media posts, mutual connections, or subtle messages to ensure that your thoughts and feelings are still tethered, even minimally, to them. Every story you share, every public update becomes an opportunity to measure, manipulate, or provoke a reaction, keeping you within their psychological reach without ever speaking directly. This need for emotional control is deeply rooted in their dependence on external validation. If they can still evoke a response from you, even subtly, they feel a sense of power, a continuation of the dominance that absence momentarily threatens. Their influence may take the form of orchestrating perceptions through mutual acquaintances, monitoring your lifestyle, or subtly inserting themselves into narratives that matter to you. The aim is the same: to remain emotionally relevant, to ensure that their ego continues to be fed indirectly. What's remarkable is how this dynamic operates largely unnoticed. You may feel free and distant, yet they are meticulously calculating ways to elicit responses or monitor your emotional state. Understanding this allows you to see the invisible threads they try to weave from afar. By recognizing these patterns and maintaining firm boundaries, you reclaim your autonomy. Your emotions are yours alone, and their attempts at distant control only reveal their dependency, their insecurity, and the futility of trying to command a life that no longer revolves around them. At the core of every narcissist's reaction to no contact is a quiet, gnawing fear, the fear of irrelevance. They dread being forgotten, excluded, or rendered powerless in the narrative of your life. When you step away, withdraw attention, and live independently, it creates a mirror showing them that their influence is not absolute. This absence threatens their carefully constructed self-image, which depends on constant acknowledgement from others to feel significant. This fear of irrelevance is subtle but relentless. Unlike anger or envy, it is not always outwardly expressed. It simmers beneath a mask of indifference, planning, or subtle observation. The narcissist may watch your life from a distance, monitor your social media, or stay in touch with mutual connections, all in an unconscious attempt to maintain a foothold in your world. Every signal of your attention they fail to receive amplifies anxiety, insecurity, and internal agitation. Your silence becomes a mirror reflecting what they cannot tolerate, that their existence in your narrative might not matter. Understanding this fear is empowering because it reveals the fragility behind their confident facade. Their obsession with your attention, their covert monitoring, and their imagined scenarios are all strategies to combat this underlying anxiety. When you remain distant and prioritize your independence, you strip away the fuel that feeds their ego. The more you live fully without them, the more they are forced to confront their own absence of control. In this way, your freedom becomes a powerful statement. You exist for yourself, and their fear of irrelevance is a problem only they can face. What becomes clear when we examine these hidden desires is that a narcissist's fixation is far more about themselves than about you. They crave validation, spin endless fantasies, test boundaries silently, harbor envy, rehearse reinventions, seek emotional influence from afar, and fear irrelevance. But all of this exists in the shadow of your absence, not in your presence. Your silence doesn't make them powerless. It simply exposes the fragile architecture of their ego. Every longing, every mental rehearsal, every covert observation is a reflection of their dependence on your attention. Here's the powerful truth. You don't need to engage, respond, or explain. Your autonomy is the ultimate form of resistance. By living fully, by prioritizing your peace, and by refusing to feed their invisible cravings, you shift the balance. The narcissist may watch, imagine, and plan, but their efforts cannot touch the life you are actively building. Your independence becomes a quiet, undeniable force, one that cannot be negotiated, manipulated, or controlled. In the end, the absence you once feared becomes your strongest statement. It shows that influence is earned, not demanded, and that silence can carry more weight than any argument or confrontation. While they wrestle with fantasies, envy, and fear of irrelevance, you continue forward, fully present in your own life. That is the ultimate irony and the ultimate victory. By stepping away, you have not just withdrawn, you have reclaimed your power, your focus, and your freedom. And in that reclamation, the narcissist's secret desires become powerless shadows in the light of your independence.